Marshall Rosenberg on nonviolent communication pointed out at some point in his recordings that compliments by people are really not of much worth. I don't mean that in a negative sense, of much value unless the compliment is actually saying to him in what way had he been a blessing to them. In particular, how had he enriched their life, made it in some sense more full, more vibrant, more wonderful. How did, for instance, in what he said, make their life more wonderful? And if he's persuaded that this is true, what they report to him, then of course he's very happy. So do you see, it's not a question of am I receiving this praise in all humility? It's a case of, is this praise actually trying to communicate to me what I've done that has been a blessing to someone, to them in particular perhaps, or for whatever they're praising me for? And if I'm persuaded that this is so, then this is very good news and I can rejoice in it. It's not a question of humility, you see, or lack of. It's a question of rejoicing in being able to be a blessing. Don't avoid this. On the contrary, receive it with open arms. It is the ideal that we all be a blessing to each other, encouraging each of us to be a blessing to each other. And if we can do that, that's wonderful. It's not a question of pride or humility. It's a question of blessing, love, loving kindness, our ideal. For what we see as loving kindness is in fact the great ongoing progress of life and fullness of life that being has, that life has, that life is. This is life eternal, to know Thee, the only true God, that God personifies fullness of life, the epitome of creativity. How wonderful. Thank you, Dad. So if I create a supposed example, I might say to myself, my Christian name is Marshall as well, so I might say to myself, Marshall, I found it so helpful when you said that God loves me. And Also that you said, I do love him, because it struck me just how important that is to me, that it be true that I love him. And, well, it brought tears to my eyes. I felt, somehow, yes, this is what I value. And I feel much closer to God now. Because of that. So I just wanted to thank you for it. Do you see that such a supposed compliment that someone might be giving me would persuade me that I'd been a blessing to them for real? And I'd be so happy. I mean, wow, bowled over. That's what I wanted. That's everything to me. It's not a question now of pride or humility. It's a question of joy that I've been a blessing to them. So I think it's interesting that Marshall Rosenberg avoids the problem of pride and humility, and whether they're a blessing and how we should be more humble or whatever. It's irrelevant. What matters is the encouragement that other people can give us, that we're on track as regards what we truly value. And their, what we might call compliment, is then such a blessing to us. And we can thank them for it. In fact, my goodness, in this case that I've just supposed, we just give them such a hug. We just want to say, oh, thank you so much, bless you so much for saying that. And I'm so glad that you're blessed. Nothing could be more lovely for me to hear. Thank you. And you're embracing them. Not a question of pride and humility, you see. It's a question of, well, just loving each other, valuing each other utterly in the kingdom of heaven. Thank you, Dad. Well, this particular recording was, I just turned over and thought I'd go to sleep now, but my mind went to a chap I've known for a while at of the Saturday Fellowship, Christian Fellowship, whom I meet of a Friday evening where we have a Sabbath meal. I don't go to the fellowship now, but I do attend the meal still that someone who left the fellowship still holds every Friday. And this older man says to me, Marshall, you would have made a good elder too, you know. Now this was a compliment, of course, and he's a good chap. I know he appreciates me and I appreciate him. We're in a good friendship relationship. And I'm worried now that I'm being complimented now. You know, there's do I receive this in all humility? What's all this about? What I should have said to him was, what makes you say that? Actually, I didn't need to, because I know what he meant. He meant that, in his opinion, I would make a good elder, and by a good elder he means someone that be a blessing to people in the fellowship and outside. So I guess I didn't need to inquire further or tease out some more definite compliment, so to speak. I was very confident of what he meant. I responded unnecessarily by saying, give me another 20 years, which was meant to be a modest sort of thing of saying, well, we're never really ready, are we? When are we going to be mature enough really to be a reliable blessing? But really, I'm not sure how I should have responded, but possibly not with that remark. That was a play on false humility. And really I should have responded with saying, thank you. I am so glad to hear that you think I would be a blessing to people. Do you see, I'm glad. Not full of pride or humility or anything else. I'm just glad that this is your view. It's very encouraging. And I suppose I should have thanked him for being so encouraging, not attending to whether I'm being humble or not. Do you see? Thank you, Dad. And this is part of what Marshall Rosenberg has contributed to. Our understanding when we listen to his talks of non-violent communication, it's a great training in how to communicate in a very peaceful way, as opposed to our what's come to be a very normal way of communicating, which eternally, he points out, introduces discord and violence into situations. And I do commend Marshall Rosenberg's talks to you. Just look them up on the internet, on YouTube. Marshall Rosenberg, non-violent communication. I think you can just put Marshall Rosenberg in, and possibly you could just put in NVC for non-violent communication. You'll find it a blessing. Thank you, Dad.